Cha-cha.
Juggler. You know him from his many appearances independently joining random parades. There will be
To hire a band to play behind you for next time.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I recommend a mariachi band.
A mariachi band, really? I see. It's difficult to talk over horns. This is something I was told forever. Sorry, everybody. Jeff Gamet is here with. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Just occurred to me, yeah. It didn't just occur to me, but it just occurred to me I should say that at the start of this, Thursday edition of this Thursday show. My time back in production days, I would find music that I absolutely love, and I would try to play it for a commercial, and my boss would be like, yeah, I can't hear over the trumpet. So, I want something that's disruptive, but not so disruptive that people can't hear you, Jeff Gamet.
All right, then maybe like a German techno band.
Okay, I see. I was going to say lo-fi chill hop, but German techno sounds pretty good too. Right. So we've talked a couple of times this week about how everything is not the way everything was, including, I don't know if you plan to watch, coming up here in a few minutes maybe, or a few hours ago, since it is Thursday. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you plan to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year, but apparently it's going to be different. They're going to have performances, but the performances are going to be, off-site and not making John Legend drive a, ride on a float when it's 31 degrees outside, pretending to sing, right? They are going to have balloons, but the balloons are not going to be handled by people. They're going to be handled by like some kind of truck that they built for handling the balloons. It's going to be different. And I figure, well, if it's going to be different, why don't we just make it completely different? Why don't Jeff Gamet and I just make our own parade? Jeff Gamet.
Ken Ray, I think this is an awesome idea.
Well, there we go then. So what I did was I wrote to you earlier this week and said, here's what I would love. I would love for you one balloon, one float, and one band. Now, you can name whatever real band you want to. That's fine to be there. But the float, you need to make up. It's not a float that you wouldn't be likely to see. And the balloon, you also need to make up. Maybe it's a balloon, that you wouldn't be likely to see. And I didn't put any sort of anything on this, although I will confess, when I started doing it myself for my answers to these, I ended up, sort of skewing Apple. But I do have alternates in case you and I pick the same thing.
I can almost guarantee we did not pick the same things.
Okay. Did you go tech? Did you go Apple? Or did you go way outside?
I went outside.
Nice. That's so good because I just kept getting so stuck in the whole tech thing. All right. So I'm Willard Scott. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford. Maybe I'm Regis. I don't know. I'm the person announcing. I'm not Matt Lauer. That's for dang sure. I'm announcing. Yeah. What's coming down? What's coming into Herald Square? Do you want to do the balloon first or the float first?
Oh, let's do the balloon. Why not?
All right. Because who doesn't love balloons? What do you got?
Giant Baby Yoda.
Giant Baby Yoda. That is such a good idea. Okay. Do you have a cute little thing that you would say about him? This little fella has been eating eggs and, taking names.
We already know that he loves flying in the Razor Crest, and we're glad that this time at least it doesn't have to be a bumpy ride because we don't want any of those blue cookies coming back out.
Oh, my God. Did you write that before?
No.
That was nice. That was so good.
That was on the spot.
That was wonderful. That was fantastic. I like yours more. Now, I will say the ones that I chose, and I know I said one and I chose two, but...
It's your show. You can do that. Well,
in keeping with the theme of the week, what I've done is I've actually... I'm seeing two balloons, but very close together, handled by the same people. It's HomePod and HomePod Mini. Now, here's what I like about this. If Apple gets tired of that... They can rebrand them because the HomePod could just be a capsule. And it could be like, Pfizer presents, whatever. And the HomePod Mini, we could spend more of Disney's money, just like you had the Baby Yoda. We could have, it's just a Death Star.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah. This works.
It's reusable. And that's kind of a fun thing. And I have no cute little thing written. And I know you didn't write that, but I'm really super impressed with what you came up with. So are we going to do the musical act next, or are we going to do the float?
How about our floats?
Okay. What do you got?
All right. So I have been to many parades.
Mm-hmm.
all over the United States and a few outside the United States. And I have to say, the place that does parades the best and floats the best is New Orleans.
Okay.
So even though this is Thanksgiving Day parade and we're not in New Orleans, we're going to have a full-on Mardi Gras style Bacchus float. And so we've got the New Orleans Jazz playing. We have the crazy party happening on the float. They are throwing beads, and everyone in the crowd needs to be jumping up and down and saying, "Hey, Mister, throw me something."
Okay.
Which is, it's actually, "Hey, Mister, throw me something." And
Nice.
and it's going to be a party float.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. It may seem out of season, but one thing we can always be thankful for is a good time. This float from the streets of New Orleans reminds us that the time for joy is, anytime you check your watch. How's that?
That was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that, seriously, I think that we should be narrating these parades.
Yeah, if the parade ever gets normal again, here's what we'll do. You and I will get on Skype and we'll watch it and we'll just do that. And then we'll, put that up as a podcast and, be like, okay, so as soon as the lion roars the second time, start the podcast and it'll totally sync up. And we'll call it Dark Side of the Parade. That'll be fun.
I'm in.
All right.
I'm absolutely in.
Cool. My float, by the way, is brought to you by the National Association of Podcasters. The whole thing is covered in that foam, that we all buy.
Oh yeah, that kind of corrugated foam stuff.
Yeah, the acoustic foam. Yeah, sure. Which
foam.
Which really does work. If you watch somebody on YouTube, by the way, who's got like 2 squares of that behind them, see, it even works for that though, because the 2 squares behind you don't do anything except for signify, look at me, I'm a professional. See, I've got professional foam hanging up there on the opposite side of where I'm talking, that's doing absolutely nothing to baffle the sound or stop the sound. But here's my thinking. The whole float, which is probably just a guy sitting at the end of his bed talking into a microphone, right? Or maybe a guy in a closet talking into a microphone, because the 2 best setups I ever had were both closets, because you could pad those and all that stuff. But everything is made of that foam and then just, spray painted or colored, however you would color something to make that. The National Association of Podcasters, which reminds you, there is no subject too silly for a podcast.
That's right. Yeah. And then, of course, I'll kick in right after that. Wow, Ken, that float sure is quiet, but doesn't he sound great?
That's nice. So I bought a number of products on Amazon over my life. I got a pack of that foam. I got a pack of that foam from Amazon to help my sound at this one place. And that has gotten more questions from people than anything else I've ever purchased.
Really?
Including somebody asking me, so if I put this on my house on the outside, will it make it quieter inside?
I absolutely love that question.
Yeah, that stuff is apparently a mystery to a number of people. Like, what's that one square doing behind you? I didn't, because I couldn't bring myself to. No. I mean, I have answered a number of questions around that foam. That was not one. All right, our musical guest, or your musical guest, who is the band that you're bringing to the big show?
I went a little bit nostalgic, and I brought it back into the Apple community, and decided I want to get the band back together. It's going to be the Macworld All-Star Band. I thought about that. That's excellent. All right, tell me about their float. And I know you didn't design a float because they have, but tell me about their float. Do you just make it like a Cirque du Mac, or do you make it? What do you do? Their float is actually pretty bare bones, because the float was built in the same way that, or under the same philosophy that they use for rehearsals. It's going to happen once a year, whether or not they actually need to rehearse. And so the float is going to be put together basically the night before. So it's really the metal structure with the platforms and the generators they need for all the electrical instruments and microphones, so that they can just jam away. For people who don't know, by the way, the Macworld All-Star Band is Dave Hamilton at backbeat, Chris Breen
formerly of, what was he before he went to work for?
He was Macworld, and then company. He was Apple.
Yeah. He still is Apple, isn't he?
Yes, he still is Apple.
Yeah. Brian Chaffin of the Mac Observer as well. Bob Levitas of being Dr. Mac. There are other people whose names I can't think of off the top of my head. I shouldn't have done that.
Tornes.
Yes, thank you.
And
the other one. No. I can see him.
I'm forgetting some.
I can see the guy too.
I'm actually embarrassed because I'm just suddenly drawing a blank.
Yeah. Well, you should be, because I'm pretty sure you know him. I don't know him.
Personally, yes.
Yeah,
what is my problem?
I don't know. Let's call him Stewie for now.
Oh, my God.
I'm pretty sure that's not it.
I apologize unreservedly for completely drawing a blank on the spot.
So do I. I'm bringing They Might Be Giants, by the way. I was torn. But they're Brooklyn's ambassadors of love. They are like, so, even though they're from New England, they're so a part of New York, and yet, never big enough to actually be part of the parade, I think. So I say They Might Be Giants. It was either them, or have you ever heard of a band called Those Darn Accordions?
I haven't, but now I'm going to see, after we're done, if my HomePod can play that for me.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so your HomePod should be able to play Stuff, or I Think About Stuff. I can't remember which is a good song by Those Darn Accordions. The thing is, apparently, before they were like a band that would actually record, they were just like a bunch of accordion people that would get together. And so you'd end up with like 50 accordions in one bar, and all of them playing together. And then somebody decided, we should make this a band. And so then they got rid of a bunch of the accordion players, basically, and they turned it into a band that was, sort of accordion-led. I was afraid you were going to choose They Might Be Giants, so that's why I thought Those Aren't Accordions, because that would be kind of like the, marching band thing, just a bunch of people marching down the street with accordions. They Might Be Giants, though, and I'm going to go ahead, since I can't get away from the Apple thing in my head, I'm going to have them sponsored by Apple. But it's made to look like they're in an Apple store, so it's basically just John and John on a wooden table.
That is fantastic.
Driving down the street, maybe with that giant screen behind them of, them. So it would be giant, They Might Be Giants in front of They Might Be Giants.
The most meta float in the parade.